Okay, so my video cut me off. I apologize for that, but here's what I'm going to do. So we're starting off where we left off. Okay, so on this problem, on number 2, we have 192, right, divided by 5. Here's what you need to do. So working in multiples of 10. So take 5 and see if 5 times 10 is equal to, what that's equal to. Well, that's equal to 50, right? Okay, so that's not too close to 192. We still got a long ways to go, right? So let's try the next multiple of 10, which would be, or next group of 10, which would be 20. Okay, 5 times 20 is, if you said 100, you got it, right? Okay, that's closer to 192, but it's not too close still. All right, let's try the next one. 5 times 30 is equal to what? If you said 150, that's right. We're getting closer, right? We're getting hot. So let's try another one. 5 times 40 is equal to 200. Okay, so now in between here, 192 is going to fall in between here, right? So we want to stick to multiples starting at 30, and then it's not going to go any higher than 40, right? So our range is going to be from 30 to 40 that we're going to list off the multiples of 5. So that is how you do it. And if you need to, rewind this and look at how I did this one more time so that you can do that. You can do that for any number. So on the bigger numbers that go past whatever, you know, the number is times 10, you're going to need to test it out with another group of 10. So 20, 30, 40, until you get close to the number, and in between there, it falls. Okay? So I would say reverse it. If you still don't understand it, go back over it one more time so you can double check how you're doing these, because you're going to have this on homework tonight, and I don't want you to get concerned with it. It's a really easy step, but it's something that you can do. And this isn't just division, guys. This is just estimating, but it's a little bit different than what we've estimated before. You guys are great at estimating. This is just slightly different than what we've done before. So it's all test, like kind of trial and error with this. So your problem was 192 divided by 5. Okay, so I went ahead and I listed all of the multiples of 5, and we started at 30, right? Because 192 fell between 30 and 40. Okay, so we went ahead and started listing those. So we have 150, 155, 160, and it goes so on until we hit 200. All right, so now step 2 is determine where 192 falls in between. Okay, so if you said 192 falls in between the multiples 38 and 39, you are correct. Okay, out of your 2 possible choices, which one is closest to 192? If you said about 38, once again, you are correct, because 192 is closer to 190 than it is 195, right? So our multiple would be 38. Okay, let's move on. And hopefully you start getting the hang of this a little bit more. Now we have 90 times 7, right? And in this case, you can either start at your 10 multiple, or you can list all of them. It's really up to you, because this one won't go any higher than 20, so you can list all 20. What I did was I just went from 1 to 13. So once I went over 90, I stopped. Okay, so as long as you're getting, once you go over this number in listing your multiples, you can go ahead and stop. But you have a couple different options to do it. So as I list, I'm looking to either go over this number and stay in between it. Okay, so, or stay, have 2 numbers in between it. So let's see. When we're listing on this one, we're listing multiples of 7. Okay, so we list all the multiples of 7 right here. All right, and we're stopping at 13 because by 13 I get to 91. That's above 90, right? Right above 90. So it says determine where 90 falls in between. Well, it falls in between the multiple of 12 and 13, or yeah, the multiple of 12 and 13, right? Which is 84 and 91. So these two, 12 and 13, are one of the answer choices, right? It's about 13. So that's what 90 is closest to, about 13. Okay, because 90 is closer to 91 than it is to 84. All right, we're going to move on to the next problem. So this is problem 5. And if I mess up on a PowerPoint or something, can you just message me so then I know to fix it for later? I really like these. I think it's fun to go through these. All right, so we were listing multiples of 4 here. And it gets pretty redundant after this, so we're doing it over and over again. So here are the multiples. Remember, we are looking to see where 67 falls in between when we list the multiples of 4. So you have numbers 1. You can go all the way through 20 on this one. Okay, and we're going to list. If you look, here's the trick, guys. So 40, right? Once we hit the 10 mark, it repeats itself again. The pattern does. 44, okay, 48, 52. Okay, so if you notice, there is a pattern when it comes to multiplication. So as we go up, we're trying to look for which number, or 2 numbers, does 67 fall in between. All right, it falls in between 64 and 68. So between the multiples of 64 and 68. So it's 16 and 17. Okay. At this point, we're looking out of the 2 possible choices. Which one is 67 closest to? It's closest to 17, right? It's closest to that multiple than it is to the 16 multiple. Moving on. Okay, so I want to make it clear that you guys understand that these are the factors. These are things that are multiplied by 4. So 4 times 1 equals 4. 4 times 2 equals 8, and we keep going. And the bottom one is always the multiples, the blue. So the yellow are always the factors. The bottom one is always the multiples. Okay, your next one, 281 divided by 9, between 31 and 32, and it's about 31. There was your answer. I listed multiples of 9 starting at 30. So what I did once again was I did my little trick, and I took that information that they gave me, and I took 281, right, divided by 9, and I said, okay, well, obviously 10, right, times 9 is going to give me 90. That's not anywhere close to 281. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try 20 times 9. Okay, and if you know what that is, you got 180. There you go. Okay, then we try one more because that's close, but it's not close enough. Let's try 30 times 9. Okay, and 30 times 9 is, if you got 270, you were right. So that's pretty close, right? We got 281 and we got 270. So I'm going to try there. If you wanted to take it one more step, remember I told you always find 2 numbers that it falls in between. So let's take it one more step. 40 times 9. 40 times 9 is... So if you said 360, you were right. So 281 would fall somewhere in between 270 and 360, right? So we know that it's going to be between 30 to 40 again. Okay, once again, if that helps you, go back over this portion of the video. So up here, I started with 30, and I didn't have to go too far. Sometimes you got to go all the way to 40. Sometimes you can just stop. So 30 times 9 is going to be 270. 31 times 9 is going to be 279. And 32 times 9 is 288. So if you said that it falls between 31 and 32, you were correct. And then out of the 2 possible choices, which one is closest to 281, it would be 31. Okay, our next problem, which is going to be problem number 7. All right, and then I'm going to run through these. So 102 divided by 7 is between 14 and 15. It's about 15. We can list the multiples all the way up to 15 and then find which one it falls in between. Remember, once it goes over 102, then you don't really have to keep going. So this one was at 105, and I stopped there, right? Because that's over 102. So 7 times 15 is 105. 7 times 14 is 98. So 102 falls in between 14 and 15. Okay. And our correct answer, once again, would have been about 15 on there. We have 85 divided by 6. You can start at 1 and keep going. I only had to go up to 15 again in order to find out that the answer was right. So on this one, between 14 and 15, and it's about 14. And try to hit on the harder problems of these ones. Okay, 220 is between 27 and 28. So it's about 27 or 28. Either one would work because guess what? This number falls flat in between 216 and 224. Okay, so if you were like, ooh, I don't know what I need to do on this, right? Okay, so if you were looking at it and you were like, I just don't know what to do. So what we would do here is we would take the number 220, and we would take it divided by 8 is equal to, well, let's see which one gets closest to it, right? So let's try 10 times 8 equals 80. 20 times 8 equals 160. Okay, we're close to 220, but we're not far enough. And then 30, let's just see if it goes over. 30 times 8 is going to be 240. Now at that point, we went over and we found where this falls in between, right? So 220 falls in between 160 and 240. So we know that we're going to list numbers between 20, or multiples between 20 and 30. Okay, that's why my list looks like this. I start at 20 and I go all the way to 30. Okay, so my answer would have been that it's between 27 and 28. All right, next one. We got 443. Once again, you would do the same thing. Keep going on 443. So I'm going to show you again. We're going to make this repetitive so that you know how to find what numbers it's in between at least, and you have a good starting point to start your multiples. So you have 443 divided by 5. Okay, we take 5, right? And we take 10 times 5, which is going to be 50. 20 times 5, 100. 30 times 5, I'm not even close to 443 yet, right? Is going to be 150. 40 times 5, oh man, it's going to take forever. 200. 50 times 5, 225. We're still not close to 443, right? So this is why it's important to list the tens ones first. 60 times 5, 300. And if you notice, these are super easy. So it goes 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. What comes after that? Well, 70 times 5 is going to be 350. We're close to 443. I wonder if you guys can guess what that answer is going to be soon, which one we fall in between. Okay, 80 times 5 is going to be 400. We're almost there. 90 times 5, 450. Did we go over? So between 400 and 450, we are going to see the multiples of 80 and 90, right? So we're going to list between 80 to 90. Okay, so 443 divided by 5 is going to fall somewhere in between 80 and 90. All right, so we got to get a little bit closer. So now we're going to list starting at 80 and going all the way through to 90. Okay, so how do we do that? So we're going 5 times 80 is 400. 5 times 81 is 405. You can just count by 5s at that point and go 405, 410, 415, 420. I would recommend doing a chart every time and doing this and then putting like a mark or a red mark in between to find where it falls in between. So here it falls in between 88 and 89. Okay, right there. So your answer should have been between 88 and 89 and about, ooh, Misty did not put that in, but it should be about 89. Okay, that was my fault. All right, your last two problems I'm going to take you through really quick. Your two answers should have been between 11 and 12 and about 12. And your final one would have been between 16 and 17, and your answer would have been about 16. So it needs to read this way. So on your homework tonight, you're going to try the same type of assignment. You're going into your practice book and you're doing practice page 63, numbers 2 through 8, and you're doing all of them. Tomorrow, I'm going to do the same thing and go back and review the answers that you had from today. Okay? Just, I put a note on there. Remember, just practice as much as you can. Don't worry about being perfect. You guys are working so hard trying to do this on your own, so I commend you for doing that, and keep working on those division and multiplication flashcards as much as possible. Make a game out of it. Throw them out on the floor and have another set of answers, and do like a matching game with it. See how quick you can do it compared to your mom or dad. Maybe you might be quicker. Have some fun at home too. So remember to breathe and relax and not drive your parents crazy. Okay? All right. I hope you have a good night, and I miss you. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.